Welcome back to Peer-Guided DBT Lessons, provided by DBT Skills application, Peers Helping Peers. This week's lesson, marked 3-5 in our Emotion Regulation module, will be examining body response to emotions. Please keep in mind that we're simply peers helping peers, working together to bring about more peaceful, constructive, and ultimately happier lives. In other words, a life worth living. Our physical bodies alert us to emotional states. Maybe it seems strange that we should look at our bodies for evidence of an emotion. After all, don't we just feel something like anger, pain, frustration, fear, guilt, etc. when it happens? It's not always that simple. In some cases, we have learned to ignore our emotions to the point that we are no longer able to even determine one emotion from another. Our emotions are intertwined with how we get our needs met from a very young age. So, if you weren't ever allowed to be angry, even in situations where this would be a natural emotion, then instead of that anger being felt and expressed and properly released, it becomes waylaid by the conscious mind. Instead, it is seen as wrong and then pushed down into the subconscious mind so that you can deal with it later. We don't need to look at the body to understand an emotion. Or do we? What if we asked where you felt specific emotions within your body? That's probably a little difficult to answer, because most people are unaware of the incredible relationship between emotions and physical sensations, and how the knowledge of it can totally transform your emotional life. We say we have a gut feeling about something, or a lump in our throat when we're upset. But these aren't just figures of speech. They are real signals from our bodies that should be listened to, identified, and released if we want to evolve into our emotional and physical potential. Feelings are called such for a reason. You feel them. Think about some of the metaphors we use to explain an emotion without defining, naming, or labeling which emotions we react to. I have butterflies in my stomach can mean I'm feeling excited and strong feelings of love. Or the same physical sensation can mean anxiety. Oh help, now what do I do? Discomfort in my stomach. Gut-wrenching can describe hurt feelings, emotional pain, where gut tied in knots is associated with anxiety and fear. Anger is usually spoken of in terms of too full, explained in phrases like, I was boiling mad, I needed to let off some steam, I was explosive, etc. Even explaining the difference between pleasurable and unpleasant emotions are described in up versus down. Haven't we all heard the expression, I was walking on clouds, or I felt light as a feather? How about I was heavy with grief, or I was weighed down by guilt? Emotions are physiological sensations that occur within your physical body. Developing an awareness of exactly where you're feeling them, how they feel, and what you can do to release them in healthy ways can be the key to emotional freedom. Research has linked specific emotions to certain regions within the body. Each emotional experience tends to have its own home, where it manifests within your physical being. These sensation stations were consistently similar across different cultures, from Western European to Eastern Asian, indicating that there is a biological basis for emotions and their corresponding reactions in the human body. As you can see in the study's heat map above, certain regions of the body are activated during specific emotional experiences. Look, for example, at anger versus fear, disgust, happiness, sadness, surprise, neutral, anxiety, love, depression, contempt, pride, shame, and envy. Bring awareness to your own physical emotional experience, and you will see undeniable patterns begin to emerge. Here is another chart that offers some insight into where common emotional feelings can manifest physically. Some commonly felt sensations, or general locations that different sensations affect, may be a physical communication of your emotions. Your physical sensations may be emotions that are asking to be felt and attended to. Pain in a specific area could be considered a message shouted with urgency. Common head messages, or emotions. Tension headaches metaphorically mirror the opposing tensions in our own life, a time when we become more out of touch with our intuition and the ability to reason clearly. Our inner order is quickly spinning out of order, creating a high level of nervousness and confusion or anxiety, which often leads to impulsive reactions. We start going in circles, unable to make up our minds if we should go with the desire of others or assert our own individuality. This confusion causes us to start arguing with everyone. Anger. Headaches are the equivalent of a rap on the head to say, "Wake up and pay attention." You are ignoring your intuition, your gut feeling, or you are ignoring your own needs. Migraine headaches. Migraines are usually caused by a lack of oxygen reaching the brain. This can be seen as the life-giving energy being withdrawn from our control center, so we do not have to deal with the commands, but can ignore our reality and the demands made on us. This is often caused by a frustration of unfulfilled plans, an overload of information, and an inability to integrate it, leading to repressed rage. There is also a sense of something that has to be achieved or done that is being asked of us, and the fear or resistance connected with being able to fulfill that demand, anxiety. A goal has to be reached, and the thought of it creates pain. What needs to be looked at here is why there is a desire to avoid demands in the first place. Common eye messages as they relate to emotions. Eyes are like windows. They provide your perspective of the world. Nearsighted people tend to live only in the moment, ignoring any plans for their future, whereas farsighted people tend to plan for the future and project their thoughts to the what-ifs, fear. They have a harder time staying in the here and now. Eye problems can indicate that you aren't looking at something clearly or don't want to examine something. Anxiety. Check the windows in your home. Are they dirty and murky? Often something as simple as cleaning your windows or getting new glasses can tell your brain, "I want to see this situation clearly." Tears welling in our eyes or a stinging sensation when we're resisting crying can be related to any intense emotion, not just sadness. Common ear messages as they relate to emotions. Earache, pain. Anger. Not wanting to hear. Too much turmoil. Household arguing. Hearing problems or excess wax buildup may indicate you don't want to hear or accept what is going on around you. You may be stubborn or fixed in your own ideas. You are effectively tuning out. Common mouth messages as they relate to emotions. Your mouth and tongue are how you taste the world. Taste is a vital part of your senses, your sensuality, your ability to enjoy pleasure. When you lose your taste or hearing, you may be disconnecting from the physical world. When you disconnect from the world or other people, you disconnect from yourself. You may be punishing yourself, guilt, by denying yourself pleasure or fulfillment of your desires. Common neck messages as they relate to our emotions. Tight muscles creating an armor in the upper back are often loaded with rage that was initially aimed at ourselves, but then gets projected outwards towards others. C1 through C5, where your skull joins the spine, is where guilt and self-recrimination hides. A pain in the neck often means you believe you have made mistakes and haven't forgiven yourself. You, and perhaps others, are judging yourself too harshly. Are you not forgiving yourself? Are you not forgiving others? Is your pride getting in the way? Are you doubting your abilities? The healthy neck and cervical spine represents flexibility and the ability to see both sides of the conversation. But turn this concept on its head by introducing an unbending mindset or bullheadedness, and health turns to illness and disease. In this case, a stiff or painful neck. Common throat messages as they relate to our emotions. The throat is psychologically multifunctional part of the body, as it is physically multifunctional. If you have pain in your throat accompanied by difficulty in breathing, it may be symbolic that you're having trouble breathing life in, anxiety. Tightening or constricting of the throat may indicate that you may be feeling restricted, under pressure, or grabbed by the throat to say or do something, fear. Pain upon swallowing is the body's way of asking you outright, what person or situation can't you swallow? Perhaps there is some specific emotional trauma that you're having difficulty in getting past, or are simply unable to swallow an attitude of a certain person or the outcome of a situation, anger and fear. Inflammation of the tissues of the throat may indicate repressed anger and self-directed aggression. Common throat and laryngitis messages as they relate to emotions. Since laryngitis usually results in partial or total loss of voice, it may be a message from the body that you fear communicating vocally. You want to say something, but you're afraid you won't be heard or will displease someone. Instead, you choke back your words and they remain stuck in your throat, which can lead to a sore throat. These words are struggling to get out. Perhaps you are afraid you won't live up to someone's expectations if you allow these words to come out, or you may fear being judged as inept by others who are more well-versed on the subject at hand. It may be that you've already said something you regret, shame, or have spoken out of turn and are determined to shut up in case something else inappropriate slips out. Is there some important request you are afraid to make because you think it will be rejected? Are you avoiding speaking to someone specific for some reason? Common shoulder and upper back messages as they relate to emotions. Stiffness in the area of the shoulder blades usually reveals you are going in the wrong direction in life, or you are doing something in life that isn't serving your highest purpose. This is actually a positive and predictive pain, showing that you may need to make an adjustment in your life direction. Frustration and anxiety. Stiffness in the shoulders can also mean we are unable to see our options clearly. We are frustrated by our personal limitations and tormented by either indecision or making the wrong decision. Anxiety. This creates a tremendous feeling of stiffness and pressure and the desire to escape from deciding. Pain at the bottom edge of the scapula can also be caused by taking on, but not releasing, the woes of others. In relationships, it is the pain of giving yourself to someone who doesn't love or care about you. It can symbolize emotional sadness from living a life that shouldn't have turned out the way it did. With frozen shoulder, you may literally feel frozen and trapped in your current circumstances. This can make you feel helpless and disempowered, especially with authority figures. Fear. Common heart messages as they relate to our emotions. We're often taught by those who love us to follow our hearts. It's a statement made more out of feeling than intellect. The state of the heart affects the entire body, and it would strongly explain the instinctual feeling that it is the heart that is at the center of things, not the brain. We often speak of having a good heart, a soft heart, compassion and empathy, a hard heart, a black heart, anger and rage, a brave heart, a lion heart, courage, a heart of stone, heart of lead, uncompassionate, heart of gold, compassion and empathy, of having a heartache, of being heartbroken, sadness and grief. The heart is the location that many emotions make themselves felt. Love is universally known to speak through the heart. Feeling a pain, tightness, or a hollow feeling in one's chest is so universal to sadness and grief that these emotions are often portrayed in art or on the stage by the person touching his or her chest. Carrying a burden on your chest, having a heavy heart, carrying something on your chest, unable to get it off your chest, being in a suffocating situation, racing heart, racing with fear, anxiety. These are only a few of the ways emotions can make themselves known through a physical feeling. There's a natural tendency for each person to experience their emotions more in certain parts of their bodies than in other parts. Some folks may experience most feelings in their stomachs, others more in their chests, etc. A chest person might feel light and bubbly, happy, tightness, scared, outward pressure, anger, etc. Guilt and shame may feel like a sick feeling in the stomach and a lump in the throat. It's really helpful to get acquainted with what sensations you normally experience for any given emotion. This helps you sort out what you're feeling more quickly, which in turn helps you react more the way you want to react to situations. In other words, it gives you more control over how you express your emotions. And finally, a word of caution here. Do not ignore pain or sensation that could be a sign of a medical condition. If in doubt, Please get a doctor's approval to focus on pain and sensations to understand emotion. Next week in our peer-guided DBT lessons, emotion regulation module, we'll be examining naming and labeling emotions.